is the Max Kellerman Show. Max Kellerman Show on ESPN Radio.
Yeah, the Max Kellerman Show on ESPN Radio. What's up, nerds? ESPN Plus, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80, and your smart speaker. Man, is this Lakers roster better than last year's? I want to talk to Perk about that in a few. You can reach me at 888-SAY-ESPN, 729-3776. Kendrick Perkins coming up. Talk the Lakers and Clippers, and he loves the Suns, and I like the Mavs. We're going to get into it. Max Kellerman Show, presented by Progressive Insurance. All guests join me on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. Been saying for weeks, it's time to bench the highest paid quarterback in the league. Know what? Too late. More on that later. That ship has sailed. Try to listen to your boy. Listen to your boy or regret it later. Hear me now. Believe me later. Hans and Franz. Anyone get that reference anymore? Saturday Night Live from a million years ago? Man, I'm old. Be a part of Max Kellerman Nation on the Dr. Pepper call-in line. ESPN Nation is presented by Dr. Pepper. It's official. College football's back, so is your favorite Dr. Pepper-loving college football town, Fansville. Head to a store near you to treat your inner college football fan to an ice-cold 20-ounce Dr. Pepper today. First, it's time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Let me give it to you straight. Tom Brady lost in Week 1 to the New Orleans Saints and Drew Brees. Then it looked like he was back on track for a while. Then, big showdown on the road at Soldier Field. Nick Foles made the play that put the Bears in position to kick the field goal to take the lead. Left too much time for Tom Brady. Over a minute on the clock, too much time for Tom Brady. All he did was miss passes and forget what down it was. Lost track of downs. But he bounced back from that and looked great. Spanked the Packers, right? And now they're on a roll. The Bucs are the best team in the NFL, at least in the NFC, says all the experts. And then they play the Saints again, get smacked. And now they play the Rams. And what happened? It was a good game, you know. Brady's players showed up. Receivers are back. Mike Evans looking like Mark Bavaro in the Super Bowl. You know, looking like Marshawn Lynch taking dudes for a ride. Not just making the catch, but yards after catch with dudes hanging all over him. Brady couldn't get it done. Threw an interception to end the game, essentially. So, you know, everyone's talking about how it's a primetime issue. They're 1-3 in night games and all this stuff. Forget about that. Brady, against the good teams and the teams he has to beat, has one excellent win against the Packers at a time when the Packers were flying high. But they were really more the first team to expose the Packers than that's an amazing performance and the Packers are great. The teams he has to beat are the Saints. And he lost the second time worse than he lost the first time. And by the way, the L.A. Rams, L.A., you know what's been going on with the Rams. They got to go to the East Coast, back west, East Coast, back. They're flying all over the country. They have to go all the way back east again. That's a bear, right? And that's why, partly, the Bucs were favored to win at home. And while the Rams have looked pretty good recently, the defense especially, and the offense started to come around, boy, the Bucs have an elite offense. Tom Brady, weapons all over the place. Brady has not looked good throwing the ball down the field, period. He really hasn't. And Casey Joyner, the football scientist, was on this show, was it Friday? Talking about Brady's big advantage back in the day was decision-making. Brady was every year was like the best in the league at making good decisions. And really, when you think about Tom Brady, that's what it is. He had a strong arm, but lots of guys had greater arms than Brady. He was accurate, but there were guys more accurate than Brady. He wasn't very mobile, but he was super smart, especially football smart. He could process information very quickly and make the best decisions very quickly. The difference between Brady and the other guys usually was Brady was making the right decisions. But then the league caught up to him. Now quarterbacks generally make much better decisions than they used to. So he doesn't have the same advantage there that he used to. And while his arm is still good enough, it's not what it was, and there are guys with better arms, and he's not mobile, right? So a lot of those edges that he had are gone. And against a defense that can get to the quarterback, against a guy who's not very mobile, and where you can pressure him and really bother him, although that's a little bit like in boxing when they say, he doesn't like it to the body. No one likes it to the body. Like, no one wants that pressure. Come on. Yeah, but he's mobile. He can make you pay. Stop it, man. If guys are winning the battle up front, that's always 100% of the time bad for the quarterback. But that was what happened. Do we have this sound, Raj, of Brady after the game, or do you want? I want to play the sound. Here's Brady after the game on like whose responsibility was this
was
loss?
Very inefficient, not a very good job there in the second half. Defense played great, kept coming up with huge stops, getting us the ball back. Man, offensively, we just couldn't make the plays that were necessary to be efficient, and we had plenty of chances, so got to get them fixed.
Yeah, I mean, he's right. He weed it. I mean, I would like to hear Brady say that he could have been better. I've seen Brady a lot better, even this year, a lot better. But, look, and by the way, this is true of everyone. They play, occasionally you get a guy or a team that plays better against better opposition, right? They kind of fall to the level of opposition or rise to it. But by and large, you play better against lesser teams, and you don't get the same results against better teams. In every sport, it's harder to beat good teams. But, man, Brady's not very good against them. Not very good like when you need him to be. We asked on First Take today, do you trust Brady? Look, do you trust him in the moment of truth? Let's just go back in your mind's eye for a second. Last year against the Dolphins, in a game the Patriots really needed to have to get a bye in that first round. That's Belichick's secret all these years, right? Weak AFC East. No quarterbacks. Brady never had to face a great quarterback in the AFC East. It was the longest span with the worst quarterbacks in the history of football. In any league. You can find any league the AFC East was a joke with quarterbacks. So Belichick always had that advantage with Brady. They always had a bye in the first round, it seemed. So always they had to host one playoff game that if they won at home, they were in the AFC Championship game. Well, last year, they really needed that win against Miami to make that true. And they couldn't do it. And Brady couldn't do it. And they lost. And so they lost in the first round. That's what happens. And now this year, week one, you lose to Drew Brees and the Saints. I get it. They're, especially with COVID and everything, they have continuity. You don't. But in the rematch for the Saints, you lost a lot worse. A lot worse. And then with defenses that could get you pressure on you, the Bears and the Rams, you really didn't look good. I can't call it a cliff with Brady, right? No, because a cliff means what generally happens to quarterbacks or what had happened in the past before all the advances in nutrition, not to mention PEDs, by the way. Like you notice that, the correlation with longevity and the new era. But what really happened in the NFL, they changed the rules. And by the way, I'm not accusing Brady or anyone of anything, like juicing or anything, but you do notice a positive correlation with the prevalence of that in sports and guys playing into later ages. But what you see is the rules change that protected the quarterback really helped older quarterbacks avoid catastrophic injury, right? And Brady was among the beneficiaries of that. So I can't say cliff, because in the old days it was like, oh my God, that guy's better than he's ever been. And doom, right off the cliff. Peyton Manning, Brett Favre, well, those were injuries, yeah, and that's part of it. But they were like, oh my God, he could play till he's 50, and then a year later they were done. That hasn't happened to Brady as I thought it would. His has been a steadier decline, and he's falling from great heights, but it has been a decline. Last year, he wasn't nearly the player he'd been the year before. And this year, with weapons everywhere, he's kind of middle of the packish. I mean, a little better than that, but not much. So while I can't call it a cliff, let me ask you something. Do you trust Brady in the moment of truth? And when I say trust him, I don't mean like, is he an NFL quarterback? Clearly he still is. But will he get it done when you need him to most? He has not this year. At the end of games, when you really need a drive and you need to score, that has not been Tom Brady. I mean, how bad is Brady throwing that ball down the field? Meantime, the Rams. I'll tell you what. Talk about trust. The question comes down to, do you trust Jared Goff to get it done in the moment of truth? Because he's got a couple of receivers in Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp who can get it done. If you think Jared Goff has taken a step forward, say, since his Super Bowl failure against Brady and the Patriots, you got to like the Rams to have a damn good shot of coming out of the NFC. Kendrick Perkins joins us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. What's up, Perk?
What's up, Max?
So I just gave you straight talk. No contract, no compromise. Straight talk wireless, Perk. I expect some straight talk out of you now.
What's going on?
Well, you tell me, who won? What team is winning at this moment free agency, do you think?
It's a few teams that are winning, but who is the biggest winner? It's the Los Angeles Lakers.
Yeah.
The Lakers. They won big time in free agency. Rob Pelinka went out and signed free agents like they lost the championship. That's how great of a job he did in free agency. He did what your boy Kawhi and the Clippers and Lawrence Frank and Steve Ballmer should have done. Went out and recruited, not lose the sixth man of the year to a cross-town rival, Los Angeles Lakers. But, hey, that's another story. The Lakers are the biggest.
Hold on. That was a good – they improved at power forward, Perk. They got rid of Montrezl Harrell. And forget about the fact that he was abused by Jokic. A lot of guys get abused by Jokic, but he was abused by him. But the fact is, Montrezl Harrell has energy and stuff, but he's not a shooter. Ibaka can defend, and Ibaka can shoot. That's an upgrade.
That's an upgrade. So losing a six-man.
You don't think Ibaka's an upgrade over Montrezl Harrell?
Losing a guy that gave you 19 points and 7 rebounds and won sixth man of the year, and you lose him, and you tell me that a guy that you bring in and Serge Ibaka, who had a pretty solid year last year, is a significant upgrade to your sixth man of the year candidate? Sixth man of the year winner?
I agree. Yes, yeah, I would say so. Yes, I think Ibaka is a very good defender and can play real minutes next to just about anyone because he can also stretch the floor. Like, you act like Serge Ibaka isn't a big pickup.
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. But the Lakers won, and the reason why is the Lakers lost Rajon Rondo, but then they got Dennis Schroeder. The Clippers have yet to get a floor general. They still don't have a point guard.
That's the problem. That's the problem, Perk. They don't have a point guard. Like, when you think about the point guards, the guys who could really organize your offense and lead the offense, you think about the guys who move teams, right? Like Chris Paul is on a new team. Drew Holiday is on a new team. Rondo is on a new team. But none of those teams are the Clippers. What do you think happened?
Well, it's a few things that probably happened. Obviously, Lawrence Frank didn't do a great job of being a general manager and going out there and recruit guys like he should have. Or guys didn't want to go play for the Clippers. That's the only way I can look at it, because Rondo have a relationship with Ty Lue. So to me, that should have been a win automatically, but it wasn't. And you lose Rajon Rondo to the Atlanta Hawks. Now, I know he's an improvement. He's what the Hawks need for as a veteran leader, a guy that could back up Trae Young, maybe even play with Trae Young a little bit and teach him. And I think the Hawks will make the playoffs. But you lose a guy like Rondo who needs to be on a contender like the Clippers, and you lose him in free agency to the Atlanta Hawks? Like, you can't make that make sense to me.
Meantime, Stephen A. and I were arguing about it, the biggest threat to the Lakers in the West. I actually think that it's the Dallas Mavericks, Perk. Dallas, if they're healthy, Luka is a superstar with room for improvement. Like, he can shoot, but he could shoot the ball better than he shot last year. He could play defense better than he played last year. He's already about an MVP caliber player. He's way under 25, and Porzingis is 7'3" and can play defense, real defense, and shoot the three. So like you have those two guys, and then Dorian, Finney. You have Kleber. You have guys with size who can shoot and defend. Kind of everywhere you look on that team. I like Dallas. Who do you like as the biggest threat to the Lakers in the West?
The Trailblazers. They have the second best team in the Western Conference, and I don't see how you didn't recognize that. With them adding Robertson, Covington, you having the big fella Nurkic coming back healthy. They re-signed Carmelo Anthony, and they had some other key additions. You're going to have Zach Collins back, and then you have the best point guard in the game today in Damian Lillard. So, I mean, you talk about what C.J. McCollum could bring to the table. To me, the Trailblazers did a great job in free agency, and they're the second best team in the West. And the third best team right under them is the Phoenix Suns. They're better than the Dallas Mavericks.
I like Phoenix
a
lot,
they
too.
are. They are.
Well, I don't know. Hold on. I like Phoenix a lot, but even Portland. I know Covington is long and can play some defense, but Portland was awful defensively last season. That one addition like that doesn't change that they were awful defensively. They have to get so much better defensively, Perk.
Yeah, but it's a difference, Max. They was missing Big Nurkic. He's their anchor, and now he's back starting the season healthy, along with a healthy Zach Collins coming in off the bench. I like the direction that Portland is going in, and I think that
I like your Phoenix pick a lot. I mean, like Phoenix, Chris Paul, and you and I have discussed it on First Take, should make their big guy better, DeAndre Ayton better. And we saw the kind of jump that Devin Booker took from he was kind of went from like a stat stuffer on a bad team to a great player on an ascending team. I really do like the Suns a lot. I don't know if I like them as much as Dallas. I think you're kind of sleeping on the Mavs.
I'm not sleeping on the Mavs, but I'm looking at what the Suns have done in this offseason, and they drafted the kid Jalen Smith at the 10th pick. I love him playing on the side of DeAndre Ayton. And then they went out and they got Jay Crowder, and they got a stud, in my opinion, that could come off the bench and give them 15 to 16 points. And they still got Cam Johnson. And they still have
Cam,
and Mikal
right.
Bridges, but guess what? They signed each.
Yeah, Bridges and Johnson. You're right.
But they signed each one more, Max. Nobody's even talking about that.
Yeah.
This is the guy that could give you 12 to 14 points off the bench.
On the low, I think you and I may have Phoenix in the same spot, which is, to me, Phoenix might. God, the West is going to be tough. Phoenix, you could make an argument, is third to me. I mean, we have a different number two, and certainly Portland's deeper than the Mavs. But I like the Mavs' top talent better than Portland's top talent. I think straight up Luka is better than Damian Lillard, and I think the world of Damian Lillard. But Luka's a little bigger and is offensively just ridiculous. And Porzingis, man, people don't. If Porzingis is healthy, and they're going to be very careful with his knee early in the season, that dude is a monster.
He is.
And then they have size and defense and shooting. But I know what you mean. They're not as deep as, say, they got Josh Richardson, too. It was a nice 3-and-D addition to them.
But Josh Richardson don't fit well like Steph Curry did. I thought that was a big – because Steph Curry is the guy that could stretch the floor. Josh Richardson is not that type of guy. Luka needs spacing around him. And Steph Curry, you can't leave him. He shot what, 43% from three? He's probably hands down the best shooter in the game today, and I'm talking about even over his brother Steph. So how can you lose him?
Seth can shoot the lights out, but Perk, there's a reason. He's a defensive liability. There's a reason he doesn't play that many minutes, the fact is Josh Richardson probably going to get more minutes than Seth got, right? So that's a fact. I know what you mean. I like Seth a lot. And I like him on Philadelphia a lot. But they did pick up a whole lot of defense in this move. And I feel like Josh Richardson can shoot it just well enough to call him a 3-and-D kind of guy. You can't leave him alone. Maybe he doesn't stretch it like Seth, but you can't leave him alone.
Well, I tell you what, he better get more minutes than Steph Curry. He's making almost $8 million more. He better get more a year. He better get more minutes.
Yeah,
but look, I like Josh Richardson. I'm telling you, I'm a fan. I just feel like Dallas gave up a lot. But I will say this. they didn't have the point guard Bronson last year, right? He's a flat out hooper. He reminds me a lot of Fred VanVleet, the way that he competes on both ends of the floor. So that's a major plus that they're getting back. I didn't like that they gave up the right kid like they did, but hey, it's yet to see. But like I said, Max, I think Portland and the Phoenix Suns have a better ball club than the Dallas Mavericks.
Oh, no, Tim Hardaway Jr. I didn't even mention. Like, these dudes, again, sleep. Okay, so Perk is sleeping on Dallas. Show on ESPN Radio, ESPN Plus, the ESPN app, and SiriusXM Channel 80 and on your smart speaker. Did Miami make the right choice with Tua? You bench a rookie QB who's been on a roll? We're going to get into that later. You can reach me at 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 729-3776. The Max Kellerman Show is presented by Progressive Insurance. Time for the Eagles to bench Carson Wentz? Wrong. I'll explain why. First, this is Keyshawn Johnson. He is the co-host of Keyshawn, J. Will, and Zubin. Keyshawn, J. Will, and Zubin in the morning here on ESPN Radio. He also used to play football for several professional NFL teams. Raj, he was also the number 1 overall draft pick out of college. I don't know if you're familiar with Keyshawn.
Out of USC. Mm-hmm.
Here's Keyshawn on
It's not
bench
like
Wentz.
in basketball or other sports, you could take a guy out and then put him back in and take him out, put him. You could play that game.
Mm-hmm.
In football, at the quarterback spot, you can't play yo-yo with a guy, especially a guy that you've given $100+ million to, who was supposed to be your leader, your franchise quarterback. If you pull him and you just paid him all his money, and all of a sudden Jalen Hurts goes in there and balls out to a whole nother level, now you back yourself up in the corner now.
Hold up. Boy, Key is so wrong about this on so many levels. And Key has forgotten more football than I'll ever know. I recognize that. But boy, is this twisted logic here. First of all, you're afraid that Jalen Hurts is going to become a star, and then what are you going to do? You should wish for that kind of problem. No, this is what it is. You can't bench Wentz now. You know why? It doesn't matter anymore. Wentz is finished. He'll never be a great quarterback. That's finished. There's too much stuff wrong with him. The way he sees the field is no good. His mechanics are no good. His decision-making's bad. His confidence is shattered. Ball security's not there. The internal clock is not there. Everything's wrong. The problem is all the excuse makers for Carson Wentz. Understand, I talked about this yesterday. At the end of last year, those last bunch of games against NFC East opponents, and that was the worst division in the history of football until this year's NFC East. Carson Wentz played poorly. He played worse against those teams. He had 4 NFC East games at the end of the season than other NFC East quarterbacks did, right? Like if he beat the Giants and Daniel Jones, some backup on Washington beat them worse than he did, played better than he did. If he beat the backup on Washington, Daniel Jones beat him worse than he fared worse against all the NFC East teams than other quarterbacks did. And it's not a who's who of quarterbacks in that division. They got lucky. He would fumble the ball on 3rd down in the 4th quarter, and they would recover. The Eagles would jump on the ball. It's luck. And I came out and said, boy, Carson Wentz doesn't look good. And other people were actually saying he should be in the MVP conversation. What? So instead of doing real soul searching in this offseason, Carson Wentz was reading his press clippings. He needed to work on things. He needed to tear it down and build it up again. But that's not what happened. And so the trend continued. Like, either you believe that I got really lucky with some off-the-wall take that I just decided to throw out there, or, in fact, I was seeing things at the end of last year, which continued this year, and now everyone finally seeing the same thing. So what did I tell you weeks ago about Wentz? Weeks ago. Bench him. Keyshawn's wrong about that, too. You can't play yo-yo with a guy. Wrong. You can. In fact, they did it in Philadelphia once upon a time. Donovan McNabb was sat down a game. They wound up in the NFC Championship game that year with Donovan McNabb. You must hold your franchise quarterback, your $100 million man, accountable. If he's out there making bad decisions, bad throws, everything's bad all the time. Understand, Carson Wentz has been outplayed by every single opponent this year. Hasn't outplayed a single opponent. Leads the league in interceptions. 14 in 10 games. Fumbled the ball more than any quarterback, basically, since he's been in the league. So, if he gets up there at the press conference a couple weeks ago and says, well, I'll always be walking that line knowing when to try to extend the play and da-da-da-da-da. That's just the way we do things around here. When I heard that, alarm bells went off for me. That's the way we do things around here. Why do you think Doug Peterson won't answer the question directly at the press conference as to whether he has the autonomy even to bench Carson Wentz? He won't answer the question. He'll talk about other stuff. He won't answer that question because he does answer the question, in fact, by not answering it. The answer is obviously and unequivocally no, he does not have the autonomy to bench Wentz. Because Carson Wentz has a direct line to the owner, Jeffrey Lurie. That's what I hear anyway, from more than one source. So, what do you do with Carson Wentz? At this point, like, the time to bench him and make him accountable was 3-4 weeks ago when I first brought it up. Let me ask you something. You ever see Carson Wentz winning a Super Bowl? You ever see Carson Wentz being a great quarterback? Nah. Guys with more talent than Wentz or who had produced more consistently, like, say, Matthew Stafford, people are still waiting for him to do it, right? But here's a better example. Jay Cutler. Jay Cutler had a lot of talent. Was Jay Cutler ever, like, should any team have wasted all that time on Jay Cutler? No. Especially, would you hand him $100 million? You just, at this point, everyone knows it. Wentz ain't ever going to do that thing. He had it for a while. 2017, he was great. By the way, on the money down, on third down, Wentz was the best in the league in 2017. He's the worst in the league now. He's only had one third down conversion in his last 9 quarters. And still excuses. Doug Peterson needs to do this, and the weapons and the injuries. And stop it, everybody. It's Wentz. I told you last year it's Wentz. It's Wentz. And I don't even think sitting him down is going to help anymore. Don't forget, Wentz never won in the playoffs. Not a single game. He was hurt already when Nick Foles won the Super Bowl. Beat all those teams and won Super Bowl MVP. And then came back the next year. They were sub 500 when Foles took over the team because of another Wentz injury. Sub 500. They caught fire as soon as Foles became quarterback. They made the playoffs. They beat the Bears at Soldier Field. They almost beat the Saints at New Orleans. That's all Nick Foles. What has Wentz done? Well, they got him to the playoffs last year. Stop, everybody. He was not good at the end of last year. By the way, eventually, when Tom Brady defied my prediction about the cliff, I admitted it. I said, okay, he didn't fall off the cliff, right? No one's admitting that I was right about Carson Wentz. Just admit it's okay. Sun will still come up tomorrow. Damn, Max was right about Carson Wentz. Everything I said last year in the second half is continuing this year, downward trend. And it's the same kind of stuff. No internal clock. Doesn't see the field, and the way he sees it's not right. Bad decision making. Doesn't trust what he sees. Bad mechanics. Shattered confidence. I mean, 888-SAY-ESPN. A lot of you want to talk QBs, I know. Well, Axe Max is coming up. That's where you can do it. 888-729-3776. The Max Kellerman Show is presented by Progressive Insurance. Drivers who save with Progressive save over $750 on average. Call or click today and find out. You know something? It occurs to me. 2 of the most iconic moments in the history of football. I think the greatest play of all time was Eli Manning's play that basically beat the undefeated Patriots in the Super Bowl. Both ends of that play to Tyree. But, like, Eli to Manningham in the rematch was maybe an even, like, a less lucky play on Eli's part. I don't think Peyton Manning has a single play in his career nearly as good with the kind of stakes that were on those two plays. I wonder if Peyton has to talk about his little brother's two iconic plays. Peyton's plays. All right. Dr. Pepper call-in line, 888-729-3776. Trevor in Indianapolis, you're on the Max Kellerman Show. This is Axe Max. What you want to ask
I have two things I want to add. First thing was the Washington football field. No one's talking about that, man. You have Robert Griffin, now obviously Alex Smith, and then now you have Joe Burrow. They need to take away that field. And then the second thing.
By the way, there's more. Hold up. RG3, Kyle Allen.
Oh,
by the way,
Alex
Theismann. Theismann got his femur broke on that field. Like, that's not a good field.
Second thing was obviously from Indianapolis. I know it's been about a month. You made that point about Carson Wentz going to Indy, and no one's been talking about that. But we would love that. From going from Peyton Manning to Andrew Luck, that's now obviously retired, and now having Carson Wentz under Frank Reich. Oh, my gosh, man. Look at Phillip Rivers now.
Yeah, I think reuniting with Frank Reich is the right idea. And I like the main thing, the Eagles got to get out from under that contract. That contract's going to kill them. So I like Wentz maybe on the Colts because Rivers is a million years old, although he's playing well. Or I also like Wentz on the Bears because he can throw it better than Trubisky, and he's more mobile than Foles. And he reunites with his quarterbacks coach. Dr. Pepper call-in line, 888-ESPN, 729-3776. Omar in the Bronx. By the way, that was news from Max Kellerman Nation. Trevor just hit us up on the Dr. Pepper line. Go ahead, Omar.
Max, love the show. I don't have a question, but I just wanted to agree with you on the Brady and Wentz. I mean, I don't know why everybody else disagrees with you.
Yeah, that's a good point. Omar in the Bronx makes a great point. Why do people disagree with the obvious stuff? You want to disagree with me, a good time to do that was when I was telling you Kawhi was better than LeBron. Then you should have disagreed with me then. DeAndre in Kentucky, you're on the Max Kellerman Show.
Hey, what's up, Max, man? How you doing, man?
What's up, DeAndre? Go ahead.
Carson Wentz sucks, man.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, he looks like somebody, looks like he stood behind a screen door and somebody threw dog poop at him.
Oh, I see. Well, that added a lot to the conversation.
No,
Raj.
He just made a drop for us. DeAndre, thank you. You just made a drop. Carson Wentz sucks, man. That's a drop, Max. Come on.
Yeah, but then the follow-up is something my baby daughter Mira would say, my 5-year-old. He looks like someone. Okay, Chris in Michigan, you're on the Max Kellerman Show.
Thanks for taking my call. I appreciate what you do. Happy Thanksgiving. Hey, I'd love to. Thank you. I'd love to hear your thoughts on Kirk Cousins, but I just want to throw one thing out there that I'm surprised I don't hear it more often. Once in a while, there's a quarterback that takes a while to mature and get into the right system. And I'm talking a while, and I'm thinking like another Vikings quarterback who didn't do it for the Vikings, but
they cut Chris off. Got to make your point faster. I think Kirk Cousins is a middle-of-the-road quarterback. I don't think he prevents you from winning. I don't know how much he helps you either. And I think he missed Stefanski, especially in the beginning of this season. Bucs struggle again. Who's it on? Max Kellerman Show.
ESPN serves sports fans anytime. Max Kellerman Show on ESPN Radio.
The Max Kellerman Show on ESPN Radio, ESPN Plus, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80, and on your smart speaker. You can reach me at 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. The 10-0 Steelers, undefeated heading into Week 12. Finally, leapfrog the Kansas City Chiefs in my power rankings. Chiefs won a squeaker against the Raiders. Find out in a couple of minutes. Max Kellerman Show is presented by Progressive Insurance. All guests join me on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Tom Brady and the Bucs showed they're still not ready for prime time in a loss to the Rams in a game that the Bucs were favored to win. Still haven't solved their prime time woes. They're 1-3 in prime time, and now they're further behind the Saints in the NFC South race. And by the way, the Saints have beat them twice, and the second time was worse than the first. First time you get it. You can't practice. It's COVID. You're on a new team. Arians system, no risk it, no biscuit. Tom Brady likes to dink and dunk. You got to let him get acquainted with his receivers. Like, all that, I get it. And by the way, Saints didn't look great either. No big deal. They lose game 1. Then Brady, favored to win, goes to Soldier Field. And with the game on the line, and the Bears' offensive line can't do a thing against the Bucs' defensive front. But with the game on the line, Nick Foles throws the pass, the completion, on 3rd down, I think it was. This was his 3rd down pass. Put him in field goal range. They kick the field goal, take the lead late. Too much time on the clock for Tom Brady, except he can't hit any receivers. They were tough throws, no doubt about it. Bears got a really good defense. But he couldn't make the throws, and he lost track of downs. Remember? 4? He holds up 4. And then he doesn't take responsibility after, where's the accountability? He did not answer directly. Yeah, I lost track of downs. And maybe he was covering for Arians, who was covering for him, right? Maybe. But at any rate, he followed that up by shellacking the Packers, and that was the best win of the season for them. But nevertheless, lost to the Saints early, lost to the Bears in a game they're favored to win. And then, they had some receivers missing too, and they have a lot of weapons, but they had some guys missing there. And the Bears have really a great defense. But then he loses to the Saints again right when he's on a roll. But the second time they got their butts kicked. Like, it was way worse than the first time. And this time, there are no excuses. Like, they had time together. They started to get to know each other. Brady was starting to take over the offense, and it looked more like a Tom Brady offense than a Bruce Arians offense. Saints are just better than them. And now against an L.A. team has had some good wins recently, but is going to the East Coast, back West Coast, East Coast, West Coast, and the Bucs are favored to win. And what happens again? You really needed to score a touchdown on that drive. Only a field goal. Brady's got the ball back. Over a minute left. Bad news, except he couldn't get it done. He had Mike Evans looking like he was his version of Beastquake, basically, or Mark Bavaro from the Super Bowl in '86, right? Like, guys hanging off him. He's just fighting for that touchdown. He had playmakers. He has a defense. Just couldn't get it done. By the way, he couldn't get it done against Miami at the end of last year with the Patriots. They needed to win that game. You win that game, you have a bye in the first round. You lose, you got to play that first round. What happened in that first round? They lost. Like, they really needed to win. He could not get it done against Miami, couldn't get it done against the Saints week 1, couldn't get it done against the Bears, couldn't get it done in the Saints rematch, couldn't get it done yesterday, last night against an L.A. defense. Just couldn't get it done. Do you trust Brady in the moment of truth? Let me put it another way. Think of all the quarterbacks in the NFL. There's a minute left on the clock. You need a touchdown to win. Remember once upon a time when Brady was your guy? Where would Brady rank in that situation now? You need a touchdown to win. You want Mahomes or Brady? That's laughable. Like, of course you want Mahomes. I'll take Mahomes over Brady in his prime if I need a touchdown to win. It's the easiest call in the world. You want a touchdown to win. You want Brady or you want Russell Wilson? End of the game. Come on. Not close. You want Brady or Aaron Rodgers? How about this? You want Brady or Kyler Murray at the end of a game? You want Brady or Josh Allen at the end of a game? You want Brady or Drew Brees at the end of a game? How about this one? You have a minute left on the clock. You want Brady or Justin Herbert at the end of a game? Who would you rather have? All Brady's experience, I get it, but it's the reality. Justin Herbert's got weapons. He ain't got Brady weapons. A bunch of dudes I take before Brady with the money on the line right now. I'm just being honest. Just keeping it 90. Got to keep it 90, kids. Don't keep it 100 now, man. Give yourself some wiggle room. Bruce Arians after the loss.
No, the first one he got hit. It looked like I had Chris going right down the middle, and stepped up, just didn't get enough.
Hold on, stop the sound. This is Bruce Arians talking about the interceptions that Brady threw. 2 of them. One of them that essentially ended the game, right? It's not just that Brady couldn't get it done. It's that he threw an interception. Bruce
No,
Arians,
the first one he got hit. It looked like I had Chris going right down the middle, and stepped up, just didn't get enough on it with the pressure. The last one was just a misread of the coverage.
Right, just a misread of the coverage. That's the first time I heard Arians answer a question about Brady when there wasn't some political calculation. Like early on, he calls Brady out after the Saints loss. He's trying to show his team, look how I can talk, I can hold Brady accountable. It worked. He knew how to push the button after the Bears loss. He covered for Brady and lied and said Brady didn't know. He did know the downs. It worked, too. Pushed the right buttons there. Criticized Brady publicly again not that long ago. Like, he knows what buttons to push. Here he's not pushing a button. He's just saying, okay, go ahead. Nah, the second one was he misread the coverage. Sammy in Missouri, you're on the Max Kellerman Show, ESPN Radio.
Hey, man, I just want to say that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers made a mistake by going after Tom Brady. I would have kept Jameis Winston. Now, I know that sounds crazy, like to keep Jameis Winston over Tom Brady.
Yes. Yes, it sounds crazy. See, it sounds so crazy that the football gods have disrupted your call. Hear that? That, by the way, we didn't fade him out. He was like, the antenna or something. Is he still there? Is Sammy still there? Yeah. Sammy, can you talk? Look, we have you up. Can you say anything? No, the football gods muted. They were like, what? Are you crazy? Put you on mute. The Bucs made a mistake of getting rid of Jameis Winston. Are you referring to the third-string quarterback on the Saints? Jameis Winston's a third-string quarterback. I'm not trying to diss him. I'm stating a fact. He's on the Saints. He is the third. He on the depth chart. Drew Brees, right? Am I right or wrong? Who's number one? Drew Brees. Who's number two? Raj, who's the number two quarterback on the depth chart?
No, everyone assumed it would be, and then Coach Payton came out and said, we're going to pick the guy that can't throw over Jameis.
Although Taysom Hill, he could throw a little bit.
Recover just is the question.
The main thing about Taysom Hill is he was supposed to, according to Sean Payton, be the heir apparent. He was the successor. That's why they let Bridgewater go, who's going to get expensive. They picked up Jameis Winston, I guess, for depth. I thought at first because he was shining us on about Taysom Hill, he didn't really plan on making him the quarterback. But then when Drew Brees wasn't there, who was the quarterback? Taysom Hill. So a statement of fact is the depth chart in New Orleans is Drew Brees, 1, Taysom Hill, 2, Jameis Winston, 3. He's a third-string quarterback. Why do you think that is? Because he's a bust as the number 1 overall pick. Jameis is a bust. And no, they did not. Look, you could say they made a mistake with Brady because, but even then, who was better off? Like, who was better, who was available this offseason than Brady? Foles? Maybe. Foles and Brady, that's actually closer than people realize. Who else? Cam Newton? Yeah. Cam might have been a better choice. But Brady's right there. At this moment, if you're talking about like we're trying to win a Super Bowl right now, this season, we want a guy who can still make throws down the field, although not so much of them anymore as it turns out, and who won't turn the ball over a lot. That sounded like Brady, although I mentioned it last year. It was like, oh, he has no weapons. He was missing receivers every way you could miss a receiver. And even though he basically tweeted at me, Brady, or put it on Instagram, but he was showing the radar gun. It was over 60 miles an hour. For a football, that's a nice arm. But he was like, Cliff, ? So he's tweeting that at me. Or that's in response to me saying Cliff. And I mentioned it at the time. An older quarterback can still muscle a ball and get mustard on it, right? But you can't do it as effort. It like takes more effort. Now you're more likely to overthrow a guy or miss a guy. That very much looks like Brady to me. And it has increasingly over the last couple of years, which is why his average yards per attempt is way down even from his, several years before when it was already down from his, the height of his career. NFL Power Rankings are brought to you by Shell Pennzoil Synthetic Motor Oils, which are made from natural gas. It gives you unbeatable engine protection. The proof is in the Pennzoil based on Sequence 4A wear test using SAE 5.
No bias.
I really like football.
Just facts.
Don't get it crooked here. What I'm saying.
Max's NFL Power Rankings.
All All right. Oh, look at this. No, I get money. I thought we played I get money.
That's for no doubt.
Instead?
This is power rankings.
Oh, that's for no doubt?
Come on.
I don't know.
Yes, sir.
I
know we got some changes are coming. Changes are coming because last week, Max, the Packers were number 5 in your power rankings. Who have replaced the Packers at number 5?
Phillip Rivers.
The team that beat them.
Indianapolis Colts. The team that beat them. The Colts are a well-balanced team, and I like them a lot on paper going into the season. The only thing I didn't believe in was their quarterback. But Rivers has played well. Let's call it what it is. He's played well. He's proven me wrong so far. It's so funny in sports. It's like patience, 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 patience. And just when you run out of patience, more patience, right? Because then eventually if you – I thought that with Phillip Rivers. His whole career, I've been waiting for the guy to come through. Whole career. I was a fan of his, waiting for him to come through. Always looked like a deer in headlights when it mattered most to me. But so far this season, not the same. And then I started thinking maybe it's a Chargers curse, right? Like it was just the kind of game against the – they're going to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. No, he ain't on the Chargers anymore. He's on the Colts now. He might be all right.
All
Colts
right,
are
number
5.
4, another team that may have exited the Max's power rankings. The Bucs were number 4 last week. Who's there now?
Replaced by the team that beat them. L.A. Rams.
Is this their debut in the Max's power rankings? Have we had the Rams in there yet?
I don't think they've been in there. Here, look. The way Goff looked, and let's not forget, when they went to the Super Bowl, 2/3 of the way through that season, whatever, week 10, week 12, whatever it was, when we were talking about MVP, we were saying the Rams, who looked like the best team in football, they looked like the Chiefs with defense, right? 2/3 of the way through that season. But we were talking about Goff. They had 3 MVP candidates. Remember this? Aaron Donald, Todd Gurley, and Jared Goff. Then Goff kind of fell off, and he looked bad in the Super Bowl, lowest-scoring Super Bowl of all time. But he's got a couple of receivers, and Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp. They can get it done, and they have chemistry. They've played together for a while. And he spreads the ball around. And they can run. They have a run game. And they have an offensive-minded coach and an innovative coach. And they got a defense. They got guys who can ball hawk. They got corners who, Jalen Ramsey, he can shut you down. You can put him on a lead wideout. They have one of the greatest defensive players in his prime right in the middle of it all, and Aaron Donald.
Okay.
They're at 4.
Number 3, you had the Saints, but did losing Drew Brees and going to not Jameis Winston, but Taysom Hill. Did that drop them out of your number 3? Who's number 3 this week, Max? Ooh, stay right there.
Saints. Did you see that defense? I know it's the Falcons, but did you see that defense? That was the story of the game in a larger sense was Taysom Hill, right? Because, oh, look at that. He can read defenses. We knew he could run. We knew he could catch. We knew, and he could throw it well enough. I didn't know he could read. And by the way, he read it better and better as the game went on. He made better and better decisions as the game went on. It was very encouraging. But the defense was, in terms of like what influenced that game, the Saints' defense, if that's their defense, if their defense is 80% of what it looked like against the Falcons, they are going to get out of the NFC. The Saints are going to be a problem for anyone, including the Chiefs, if that's actually their defense.
All right, next is the question of the week, I'd say. Everyone talking about this. Did the Steelers finally leapfrog the Chiefs? And I mean the 10-0 Steelers, Max, not just any Steelers, the 10-0 Steelers. Have they finally done enough to make them number 1?
No one believes in these Steelers. I even told Stephen A. We debated today on First Take, what's this game more about, Steelers or Ravens coming up? He said it's actually about the Ravens, all the questions about Lamar Jackson. I was like, Stephen A. Smith, you are a Steelers fan. It's Week 12. There's an undefeated team in Week 12 that you're a fan of. And you're talking about it's about the other team is 6-4. It's about the Steelers because no one really believes they're special. You know, people still don't believe. I'm starting to believe more.
Oh, that means we got a new number 1.
And therefore, I have them number 2 in my power rankings. I don't care what the Steelers do. The Chiefs could have lost to the Raiders. I'd have put them number 1. You have Patrick Mahomes, the fastest land mammal on the same team, one of the best pass-catching tight ends I've ever seen in Travis Kelce, and a slightly underrated defense. Like the Chiefs' defense is more like it was 2 years ago than it was last year, but even 2 years ago was a little better than given credit for. I don't care what the Chiefs look like. Don't forget, they looked bad throughout all the playoffs last year. Down big to the Texans, down big to the Titans, down big to the Niners.
Max, and did you have any doubt?
Sitting there with the Super Bowl
when they were down and Patrick Mahomes had the ball in his hands towards the end of the game? Did you have any doubt you'd be changing your number one?
Why even play that? Like, let me ask you something. Who would you rather be? I'll give you an example of what I mean. There's 1 minute left on the clock. You get to either be the team with Patrick Mahomes down 6 or the team up 6. But Mahomes has the ball.
I want to be the Chiefs. Give me Mahomes. Put my faith in Mahomes, man.
Like, I bet, like, if there was money on the line, I'm not laying odds. Maybe I would lay odds. But it's like, here's money, like real money on the line, life-changing money, and you're either going to win it or lose it. Hold up. They're down 6, but Mahomes has the ball. He got a minute. Give me the Chiefs. If I have to, give me the Chiefs.
I was at an establishment out here, an establishment doing research, of course, as always. And it was full of Raider fans, and all of them were nervous. None of them were celebrating towards the end of that game when Mahomes had the ball. None of them.
It's the worst. It's like Michael Jordan. Like, do you want to be the team that's up a point or two, or do you want to be the team with Michael Jordan if Jordan has the ball last possession of the game? That's Mahomes. I hate to tell everybody. Dick in Indianapolis. Let me do that again. In Indianapolis, you're on the Max Kellerman Show.
You almost got it, Max. Pretty good job. Hey, you're talking about the quarterbacks that were available the first of the year, and we in Indianapolis were really sad that or upset with picking Rivers, and we were all wrong. He was the best one out there. He has not only improved with the team, but he's actually helped build the team into what it is, and we could do some damage in the playoffs.
You can, and let me tell you something. I always thought Rivers was going to win a Super Bowl, and I finally lost patience. A couple years ago, when I saw him at Foxborough, he looked terrible, and I just thought, all right, fine, I'm done with Rivers. After over a decade, 15 years of being like, he's going to do it, just like Eli did, just like Roethlisberger did, I finally gave up on him. And now he's looked really good this season. And I know it sounds stupid, like, why are certain franchises snake bit? Like, what is there, a Falcons curse, a Chargers jinx? But he ain't on the Chargers anymore. And maybe something has to do with, like, not just playing in the warm weather, but San Diego for years. It's a transient town. A lot of times, like, the football game is played, the NFL game is played, and there's as many fans for the other team as there are for the Chargers. And now that they're in L.A., they're like the third most popular NFL franchise, and only one other franchise is in town, right? Like, they're more Raiders fans than Chargers fans in L.A., for sure and by far, right? So maybe it's because they don't have a fan base, and if you're a warm weather team practicing in the warm weather and you don't have a fan base, maybe it's tough to be, like, whatever it is, Chargers are a snake-bit franchise, and the Colts are not. Maybe Rivers just needed to get out of San Diego all those years. And L.A. now. He looks really good on the Colts. And by the way, the Colts look really good. The only question was what. And by the way, this caller was also right, Raj. Of all the quarterbacks who switched teams, Rivers has been the best one. Yeah, better than Brady, better than Foles, better than Cam. Who's been as good as Rivers? Lakers squad's stronger right now than they were last year when they won the championship. Time for some straight talk. Look, we all. Max Kellerman Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN Plus, the ESPN app, and SiriusXM Channel 80. And on your smart speaker, you can reach me at 888-SAY-ESPN, 729-3776. The Max Kellerman Show is presented by Progressive Insurance. All guests join me on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. By the way, there was a caller earlier in the show talking about the field, FedEx Field, and how quarterbacks keep getting hurt on it. And I went through some stuff, some quarterbacks who were hurt. And I just looked it up. I was curious. I was like, God, a lot of quarterbacks are getting hurt. There was an article in USA Today yesterday about quarterbacks that were hurt on FedEx Field. And I just had it. Now I can't find it on my phone. I'll read it next segment. But the end of that article is astounding. It's astounding. There's like a coincidence that is just unbelievable that occurred there. I'll get into it. in a minute when I find it. So I'll find it during the commercial break. Maybe during a call, Raj. I'll Google it during a call.
You're going to multitask.
I'm going to multitask. Is this Lakers roster stronger than last season's Lakers roster? They signed Dennis Schroeder, Montrezl Harrell, and Wes Matthews so far. Of course, they lost Danny Green. Danny Green did not play great for the Lakers, although is it a coincidence that Danny Green has now won a championship in San Antonio, went with Kawhi, won a championship in Toronto, won a championship with the Lakers? Seems to win championships a lot. Teams he's on, because he doesn't need the ball. He'll accept the toughest defensive assignment, and he'll shoot the three. By the way, Schroeder finished runner-up to Sixth Man of the Year last season, and Montrez won the award. They got basically 2 Sixth Men of the Year, right? You got one guy who won it, one guy who came runner-up. I actually think Schroeder probably should have won it. It's too fresh in my mind what Jokic did to Montrez in the playoffs. But oof, that one pretty. Like, if you want to ask me why on the list of reasons why the Clippers lost, they weren't going to win the championship anyway, as it turned out. I thought they were going to. Number one is Paul George does not play well in the playoffs, and he's their second best player. I think number two, and by the way, Kawhi, he has to take responsibility, didn't compensate enough for it, and in fact, in Game 7 was bad, especially in the fourth quarter, in the second half of the game. But two was what happened to Montrezl Harrell. I mean, what Jokic did to him. That was unkind. But then Jokic will do that to a lot of guys. Montrez is a good player. And Schroeder is really good. Schroeder, I always thought, like, damn, he should be better than he is. He reminded me in a way of, like, Reggie Jackson or one of those guys. Like, damn, he's going to be really, he's kind of good. He really is a sixth man. He can't. But Schroeder played defense last year, and Schroeder shot the ball well. And Wesley Matthews, his whole career, is a good two-way 3-and-D guy. Yeah, the Lakers just got better, for sure. Markieff Morris has tweeted that he's returning to the Lakers. I think the Clippers were hoping to pair him with Marcus, right? At any rate, Marc Gasol is finalizing a deal, according to Woj. KCP, who played well in the playoffs, is locked up as well. I'll tell you what, KCP, boy, Clutch Sports has done right by this dude. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, who is, at best, a nice rotation piece, has made so much money in the last 5 or 6. Remember the first deal with the Lakers, $17 million, just because they had the money to spend. No one would take their money yet. And it was like laying the foundation with Clutch to bring LeBron over. KCP got $17 million. Then he just came off a deal, I want to say it was like $12 million a year. Just signed another nice deal. But he earned this one. This one, like, he played well when he needed to. Raj? I'm going to take a call now so I can look this up because I got to read you this. I'm dying to read it now. Xavier, New Jersey, you're on the Max Kellerman Show, ESPN Radio.
Hey, Max. Sorry about the music in the background. It's because I'm at the gym. Whew.
Go ahead.
But I don't know how you and KP put the Suns at 3 when you still got the Clippers that you were just talking about. How do you just forget about Kawhi, who you said was the best in the world?
Well, I because Paul George plays so small in the playoffs, and the Clippers, it's not like Phoenix stood pat. Phoenix picked up Chris Paul. So a team that went 8-0 in the bubble, right? Last time I saw Phoenix, they'd won 8 straight games. Added Chris Paul. And then and by adding Chris Paul, you also improved DeAndre Ayton. Because you know Chris Paul's not going to stand for DeAndre Ayton just being good enough. So if DeAndre Ayton becomes an all-star, tell me another team with a legit big 3 like that. Devin Booker is a 4.5-star player right now. He reminds me of Kobe Bryant, the way he's been playing offense. And Chris Paul is also not just an all-star, he's more than an all-star. DeAndre Ayton's an all-star too. Tell me another team with 3 dudes like that. Then they got legit 3-and-D guys with length. They're good. News from Max Kellerman Nation. Xavier just hit us up on the Dr. Pepper call-in line. Okay, here it is. Ready for this? So this is by Zachary Neal in USA Today. I think this is where the caller got the thing from when he's saying, and I started naming quarterbacks who got hurt at FedEx Field. And I mentioned Joe Theismann. But listen to this at the end of this article. This is unbelievable. Okay. I'm just gonna read it. Ready for this? Joe Theismann, compound fracture of the tibia. And he goes through Kyle Allen. He goes through everyone who got hurt in Washington, right? The injury technically took place at RFK Stadium, not FedEx Field, but the connection to the injury suffered by Alex Smith are stark. If you want to believe that there's some through line in history that connects different instances in time, look no further than the connection between Smith and Theismann. Wait a minute. What is the date on this? Yeah, this is from yesterday, okay? Here we go, Raj. Notice the specific injury, compound fracture to right tibia and fibula. Same. Notice the date, November 18th. Same. Consider that both injuries took place on the 39-yard line. Same. Consider that both games ended in a 23-21 final score. Same. Consider that both injuries were caused by a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year. Consider that both quarterbacks' Pro Bowl left tackles were off the field during that play due to injury. Oh, my God. What a great pull. USA Today, Zachary Neal. And he concludes by saying, you don't have to blame this injury on FedEx Field turf. But if you're looking for a reason to believe there's a curse for quarterbacks on the field in Washington, this has to be your number one example. That is a great pull. Oh, my God. Last take, your take, coming up 8. Kellerman Show on ESPN Radio, ESPN Plus, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80, and on your smart speaker. You can reach me at 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. Think I'm wrong about Brady? Take your calls in a second. The Undefeated presents Tiger Woods, America's Son, this Sunday, November 29th at 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN and the ESPN app. The 1-hour documentary examines Tiger Woods' complex racial identity and the meaning of the golfer's success in America. Immediately following its debut, the documentary will be available exclusively on ESPN Plus. Sign up now at ESPN Plus.
You heard First Take?
At least it's good to hear your voice finally, because I know on First Take, I only hear you on the intro and outro.
Now hear Max's Last Take.
All right. Here we go. Jeff in Philadelphia. You're on the Max Kellerman Show, ESPN Radio.
Yo, Max. Thanks for taking my call, man. Hey, listen, man. I just want to tell you, I think you got it completely wrong for coming down on Tom Brady.
Why?
Coming down on Tom Brady like you are, man. Tom Brady is not. Listen, it's not Tom Brady, man. It's the scheme. It's Arians' offense and the scheme, man. He's throwing the ball.
What about when it's going well? What is it when it's going well? Like when they beat up the Packers, what was it then? Was it Tom Brady then? It's good when it's good, it's Tom Brady. When it's not good, it's Arians.
All I'm saying is they're not using Brady the way they should be using Brady. That's all I'm saying, man.
Are you an Eagles fan?
Am I an Eagles fan?
Jeff, are you an Eagles fan?
No, actually, I'm a Niners fan. I'm a Niners fan. fan.
You live in Philadelphia and you're still alive and you don't root for the Eagles?
Yes.
It's amazing. You must know Kung Fu or something. All right. Bradley in Michigan, you're on the Max Kellerman Show.
When I get on the radio, he's going to be like, you're an Eagles baby, you live in Michigan? You're lying.
That's right, Bradley. That's what I'm going to say. You're in Michigan? Go ahead, Bradley. You're on the radio now. You know what? Just keep Bradley up, Raj. Tell me if they're up to something interesting that we can listen in on. Big Lou in South Carolina. You're on the Max Kellerman Show, but don't drop Bradley.
What's up, Max?
Yeah, Big Lou. What's up, Big Lou?
Hey, Max, you high on the Mavs. You and Perk talking about the Suns. Where do you have the Nuggets and the Jazz? No talk at all. You got to.
That's a really good point. The Nuggets, I thought I was going to be sitting here today saying they're the second best team in the West. They haven't done much in the offseason, and other teams have gotten better. But the Nuggets have to be considered live. The problem is we saw them match up with the Lakers, and they couldn't, right? They needed more. They didn't get more. And the Jazz, they gave the Nuggets everything they could want. the Jazz also, they got to improve. Like, when you think about what Phoenix did, they brought in Chris Paul, Mikal Bridges and all these guys, and DeAndre Ayton. Look, they have 2 3-and-D guys that are legit. You know what you're getting. They're legit defenders. They can really shoot. One better than the other, but really. And you have a backcourt, you know what you're going to get. Like a guy with Kobe Bryant's game in Devin Booker. He's not as good as Kobe, but like that kind of level, like, oh my God. And Chris Paul. And the number one question mark in your starting lineup is the number 1 overall draft pick, who, by the way, is a very good NBA player already, right? And you assume Chris Paul's going to make him better. I just like what Phoenix did. Now, the Nuggets more than the Jazz I like, because they have 2 franchise players. And we'll see what happens with Portis Jr. Matthew in Missouri, you're on the Max Kellerman Show, ESPN Radio.
Hey, Max. I just want to talk to you about kind of the MVP race right now in the NFL after Rodgers, Brady, Kyler Murray both, this weekend losing. And then Mahomes with that poetic fourth quarter, what he does best, game-winning drive. Is there anyone even close to him now?
I don't think so at the moment. I would say that Rodgers and Russell Wilson should be right there at the end. But, Mahomes is the best player. He's going to win MVP. And I think he'll win MVP and Super Bowl MVP this year. And I think he might improve upon his touchdown-to-interception ratio from last year, where he improved upon it from the year before. What if Mahomes throws more touchdowns than he's ever thrown? That number is 50. He could. With a better touchdown-to-interception ratio than he's ever had, which was last year, he could. And wins MVP and Super Bowl MVP in the same season. All that could happen right now. He's